Welcome yet again to DMA Untamed podcast. My name is Gloria Kaburu. I am the digital and media lead at EABL, but in this particular session, I am wearing the capacity of DMA Vice Chair. And in today's episode, I'm joined by a very wonderful lady. I will let her introduce herself.
All right. Thank you, Gloria. My name is Nelly Ndonye. I work with Turn Left Media. I'm a seasoned marketer. I've been in the industry for 20 years. But currently, we focus on LinkedIn advertising because we're a LinkedIn partner supporting Sub-Sahara Africa. And also later today during my masterclass, I'll be launching a new product that we've just integrated into our business called Logan Advertising. But we'll talk about that at another stage.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Great. So today's topic is around the death of traditional advertising, right? Very heated, very contentious in terms of different opinions. But I think it's going to be a good discussion in terms of what we see in our markets in the outside. So we'll start with a quick fire question to you, right?
Okay.
TV or TikTok?
Ooh, are we speaking cable TV, streaming TV?
Let's say streaming because probably you're not watching cable.
Yeah, so if it's streaming TV, I would pick TV over TikTok.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Myself, I will pick, I think I'll pick the same. Streaming TV over TikTok, but I can also do a lot of doom scrolling on TikTok. All right. Billboards or programmatic?
Oh, programmatic, definitely.
Any day?
Yeah.
All righty. Radio or podcast?
Ooh, I think I'm feeling podcast more.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I also feel podcasts, but I listen more to radio, especially when I'm on transit.
Aha.
So it's either I listen to music, and if I'm not feeling any playlist, then I'll do radio. But yeah, alrighty.
I think I like choice.
Choice.
So podcast gives me choice. So then
And
it depends
options.
it depends on, am I feeling intellectual today? Am I feeling, I want something easy?
Yeah, something light.
Yeah, something light. Am I looking for inspiration? So I think for me, I like radio because of the undefined playlist when it comes to music.
Correct.
But when it comes to talk radio, I would choose podcasts
any day. All right, fair. Alrighty. So I think the first thing is for us to sort of lay the context of is it death or is it evolution of traditional advertising, right? So I think when I think about TV, I mean TV has been there. We've grown. It's evolved even as we've been growing as ourselves and even generally as an industry. Do you think there are opportunities that people are currently either missing out when they say it's just digital and they probably would not look at traditional?
Yes, but let's just start with death of traditional. I don't think there's a death. I think there's an evolution and innovation around traditional media and advertising.
Yeah.
And you're right in asking, are there people who are missing out by looking away from traditional? And, coming as a digital marketer, I speak as a digital marketer, I know it'll be awkward for people to hear this, but I really think if you're only putting all your eggs in digital, you're missing out. And it varies from economy or market or country to country. And this is a factor of penetration of internet, penetration of technology. So if I was to look at some European countries, you've got 100% internet penetration. Right. But if you look at some of our African countries, we don't have that kind of penetration. Yeah. So when you decide that you're a mass market product and you're only going to do digital, you're going to miss out on a lot of clients. TV is still very big in the rural areas. Radio is still very big, especially regional stations. So I still think there's a lot of room for complementary considerations. Like, okay, so for certain areas, because there's penetration, digital will be better. For certain areas, definitely traditional will be better. Yeah. And even not in the whole context of traditional in the old school way, but traditional in the channel within which it's delivered.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, especially when I look at radio and TV, as you said, because when you look at mass reach, I mean, that's the biggest opportunity, particularly that TV and radio have. But even now, when you said around fragmentation, there's that aspect of community in like fragmented radio, and you can, get very close, very intimate with your, the audience you're trying to reach as a brand or as a client in whatever capacity. So as you rightfully said, the right channel and even the deployment of how this channel gets to those audiences is super key. But as you said, it's definitely an evolution, not a death, for sure.
Not at all.
Okay, let me switch it a little bit to digital. This across, I mean, across East Africa, across the world, I mean, everybody's just like, focused on digital first. There's many models and research documents that, of course, show digital has better ROI. But why do you think digital has taken over that fast?
I think digital has taken over that fast because you're able to collect insights. And it's real-time insights. If you look at our quote unquote what we call traditional, which is your, say for example, billboards. If you look at TV screens, you're basing it on a survey that has been done based on certain numbers to be able to determine an expected audience count. However, when you think about digital, you can actually measure, you get an actual measurement of what are the clicks, what were the views, how much time did people spend on, on the video, on the screen, on that particular area. Yes, there is a little bit of wastage, but it's a lot more measurable and it's real-time measurement. And I think that's why digital is winning, and that's why a lot of the traditional will still have to evolve to build into it metrics that can be able to deliver on numbers as close to real-time as possible. Yes.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think now I went also to like the second question in terms of like what does digital deliver today that probably traditional doesn't, and it's sort of what you've just said in terms of the attribution from beginning to the end, and actually being able to take the insights, take the the metrics, optimize where need be based off of certain elements. So I think that definitely is one of the aspects I think I just put in here in terms of the opportunity digital versus traditional. All right, so let's move, as you said, into performance a little bit in detail, right? So performance in detail. So when it comes to digital, right, and I look at it in terms of what's the biggest area of opportunity that digital wins, is it in terms of accelerating long-term growth, or rather, let me say long-term brand building, or accelerating conversion? Where do you think digital plays biggest? And it could be a mix of the two, I'm just saying. But if I look at like very, that tension that sits there, where does digital win more?
I think it's subjective. It's dependent on product, it's dependent on audience, it's dependent on seasonality. So I would want to say, or sometimes I feel like digital does really help in closing the loop, but also what's the context, because because in the same breath, I'm also saying penetration, say for example, if I'm looking at Kenya, is not as high as we would want to believe.
Yeah.
So it is great in closing the loop, especially when you're trying to get some kind of conversion. So it does deliver you the conversion in real time. And you are able to set the conversion that you're looking for. But at the same time, I still think there's a lot of context that goes into it. You may want to not put all your eggs in one basket, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to build long-term brand visibility, you want to build brand equity, you need to make a long-term investment. When you're thinking about digital, when you're thinking about traditional, maybe what you need is high impact, and you'll get that in the same breath. But it might be high impact, but doesn't necessarily need the longer time to build a brand as you would when you would do it en masse. So let me use an example. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of your questions, but
no worries.
Let's just take something as simple as the Nation newspaper.
Yeah.
If a company puts an ad in the Nation newspaper, it gives them immediate credibility versus if they start running an ad, two new companies, like one company that's very new today, or two new companies that are very new today. If one puts an ad in the Nation newspaper and one starts running digital, credibility is built faster for the guy who does it on traditional.
Correct.
But for the one on digital, they need to build that credibility over time because it needs more people to see it. It needs to become a conversation. It needs, some specific authorities to give it,
to give the audience the confidence that it is indeed
exactly,
legit and it's indeed credible.
Exactly. They need to deliver in some kind of way. So it really does it really is subjective, dependent on a lot of things. But I still feel where you have good penetration of digital, it's very good for closing the loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Now,
driving conversions.
100% agreed. And I think, especially when it comes to like brand building, conversion, digital, I think, as you said, the context and even the content, because sometimes you find, yes, it's a brand building campaign, but the content maybe might not necessarily be as maybe culturally relevant to the audience. So even the context in terms of the content that drives brand building versus conversion on digital is
Yes.
also plays a key role in terms of where digital would win. As you said, it's very subjective, of course, to the objective, to the campaign. And at the end of the day, I think in our markets, it truly traditional has that authority, it has that credibility of I trust it because I saw it on the newspaper.
Yes.
You know, I trust it because
I saw it on TV.
I saw it on TV. I trust it because I had my favorite radio host talk about it.
Exactly.
So there's always that aspect as well. Yeah, I think across our markets.
In fact, the simplest one for everyone to consider is when you hear of some major news within the country, whether it's death of someone prominent or a job position moved or an incident, even though you've gotten some random tweet, conversation, message, WhatsApp, you'll go
For
to
sure.
look for the Citizen or the Nation or the
Exactly.
KTN
To be
tweet
like,
to be like,
sure.
once it's on that, you're like, okay, this is
legit.
Yeah, this is
It's
legit,
not-
you know?
yeah.
So they really carry a lot of the credibility.
I think then that also brings the aspect, of course, in terms of a risk when it comes to like digital, in terms of like tabloids or fake news that also, again, may make consumers take certain aspects or certain content with a pinch of salt. Not to say, of course, all of them, but as you said, when you go and see it's Citizen that's posted it over and above just a random tweet, then you're more, you're sure.
Yes.
I think there's a role to play even in terms of like digital practitioners, both in advertising, both in media, and even general consumers and users of digital, is ensuring that credibility and truth, when it comes to the information we actually put out. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, so question I still had when it came to performance versus brand. Is especially when you look at traditional media, right? And for the longest time, traditional media has always had more, or rather, they get more budgets, or there's more, or rather, the costs are higher. Let me put it like that. It might not necessarily be more budgets, but the costs are higher sometimes to deploy traditional media. How would we justify ROI for traditional media?
The capital investment that they've already made. So look at it this way. It's very easy to go to news channel that exists on Twitter and has a website and tell them, post my press release, right?
Yeah.
And it'll definitely be cheaper compared to if you go to a media house like Nation, like Standard, like KTN, and tell them, look, I need to post this press release. The fee will definitely be higher on this other side. And that's because of the capital investment they've made over the years and the value that you're gaining out of it. Look at it as the same way our entry-level candidate for a job will be paid less than someone who has 10, 20 years of experience. You're not just buying their time, you're buying the value, the experience that they have. So that's why that's why when you look at traditional media, it's still a premium channel, because they've made the investment, they've put in the time, and they've built credibility over time. So you're actually buying not just the actual post, the actual production, but the value that they have built over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, as you said, even their own, brand equity in terms of the strength they have
Exactly.
that has a ripple effect to your own. But I think over and above that as well, when it comes to like measuring ROI, in this day and age, from an out-of-home perspective, TV, I know there are a lot of tools that have come in place to just be able to do the measurement in terms of, yes, I did X in X budget on TV. What was the ROI, depending in terms of whether they're looking at it from an econometric modeling or from research or from proxies. But I know there's still an aspect in today's age that still justifies and can actually be able to support investment into traditional media, because I know certain either marketers sometimes, and as you rightfully said, because digital, we're able to attribute it from beginning to the very end. How many people you reached, how many people clicked, they engaged, they converted, they signed up a lead, etc. When it comes to the other side, because sometimes it might not be as granular. I think it's just across, generally within the industry, is really also understanding the measurement models that are in place that still justify it,
The
whether
capital investment.
exactly the capital investment, whether that's radio, TV, and out of home. Okay, this is an interesting one in terms of if a client gave you same budget today, and I know this one we were supposed to have a third person, but it's okay. Who would deliver faster, digital versus traditional? Who deliver faster business impact, and who builds longer brand equity?
Again, very subjective. So let's say, for example, you've gotten the budget and the target audience is Gen Zs.
Yeah.
It makes absolutely no sense to put that investment on traditional. You want to put it on digital, you want to put it on the channels they're on, TikTok, Instagram, etc.
Yeah.
Right? If you're selling a premium product, like a premium banking product, and you're targeting a more mature, older, more exposed, more financially, affluent person, there's credibility. The digital give it credibility, right? I mean, sorry, traditional give it credibility quicker. So it really does vary, and I feel like we're, and this is where the industry is. We're at that point where, because we're a digital agency, because we're a traditional agency, because we're a creative agency, we are constantly in battle for who should get more budget. And trust me, I've been part of that fight too, where I'm like, digital is growing. We need to get more of that budget coming out of traditional and going into digital. I've been there. But I think sometimes we need to look at the whole spectrum of the audiences, the objectives, the platforms available to be able to determine the best. It really is subjective. It would be wrong to say that one would deliver more than the other. Yeah, be very subjective.
Yeah, and no, I think, even as you rightfully said, when it comes to, remember, because there's always been that fight. Even when I was in agency, it's like, no, it should be, digital versus traditional, my traditional colleagues. But I think at the end of the day, remember, this consumer is one, whether it's that Gen Z, that's one individual with extremely high touch points that they're consuming in a day, whether that's radio, whether that's billboard, whether that's a podcast, whether that's, there's so much. So I think, as you said, rightfully, understanding the context of who the audience is or the consumer, and knowing the different touch points, because you might find, maybe in the morning for this Gen Z, they're on transit to uni, so they're either driving or they're either taking public transport, but they are exposed in that capacity as they're on transit to exactly. So understanding, I guess, also the day in the life of this consumer in terms of how the media touch points are true to their day-to-day living or life. Because
in fact, allow me to do a shameless plug, and it's just hit me because the product we're launching today, Logan, basically is promoting a multi-channel, online and offline targeting, whereby it's not just about what are they doing on their devices. It's also geo-targeting. When they're at the stores, can we target them there by proximity advertising? When they are on connected TV, they're streaming, can we target this same audience on that? So then that way, you're not having to choose one over the other. You're just mapping out where your audience goes and trying to touch them at each of the various touch points that they are going through.
That's an interesting proposition. Excited to listen to it more. But I think for us, probably as brand people, advertising people, our media partners, is always to know that our consumers don't live in isolation.
Exactly.
They don't live in isolation. Hence that multi-channel approach of ensuring we're reaching them at
where they are.
Exactly. And where they are. Okay, interesting. Okay, so when I just dig a little bit deeper in terms of digital and how digital has evolved. So right now there's a lot of influencers and the creator economy is growing, and we've seen a big boom, especially in our market as Kenya, in terms of how that has also driven a lot of even just general digital understanding, knowledge beyond, different areas and regions within our country. Would you say that at the moment right now, and especially because you're, platform led, is algorithm driven media killing originality?
To be very honest, I tend to agree. Like I'm leaning
Okay.
into yes, it is, and that's because the algorithm is being trained to give you more of what you're already consuming. What then that means is you're not experiencing different things. For example, you ask me quickfire TikTok or TV.
Yeah.
I struggle with TikTok because every so often I have to go back and clear my history so that it refreshes my news feed. Because once you've watched something, and when they're listening, once you've said something, then you keep saying it over and over again, and 3 days later you're not saying anything else other than that, everything around that particular topic, and then that limits your exposure and your experiences, and that's where you end up with the doom scrolling, because it's the same thing. You're still interested, but you're not as invested, but you don't want to miss out, so you're stuck in the FOMO.
Yeah, you're stuck in that
you know
FOMO. Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
yeah.
do feel there's a little bit of that. I think there is, there's the goal of the platforms.
Yeah.
The platforms are trying to generate value because they've seen you will click, then I will target you again, right? And at the same time, you clicked because you were interested, but does that mean you're continuously interested in the same thing? So there's something there that needs to change, and maybe there's something that's being worked on or is already running that I'm just not aware of at this time.
Yeah.
But I do feel like yes, it's killing a little bit of creativity, because we need to be challenged, and you can't be challenged if you're constantly experiencing the same things
Yeah, over and over
over
again.
and over again. And it's like this event, if you came and experienced the same conversation, the same product, you wouldn't see why you need to come next week or the week after, next year or the year after that, because there's nothing new. But if there's something new every year, then you want to come and see, okay, so what's there? So it's a catch for me. I feel like it's a catch 22. Yes, the algorithm does deliver value, but is it to the detriment of creative? Yeah,
Originality and creativity and authenticity.
exactly.
I mean, that's a very fair point, especially because as you were saying, I'm like, oh, I probably would need to go and like just clear my history on TikTok and just get like different content. Because yeah, as you rightfully said, I'll just get the same thing over and over again. But I think over and above that, I think right now, then it means brands and all ourselves generally have to work a lot harder, especially either from a content perspective, to have content that is so original or cuts through or whatever.
Yes, it breaks through. It needs to break through. Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be caught up in the algorithm mix of, content.
Sameness. Yeah.
Through and through.
Do you remember that time when every time Safaricom would launch a new thematic campaign, you couldn't wait to watch it because it was radically different. It was a different view of the country. It was a different view of, you'd watch it and you're like, oh, that's my country.
Yeah,
like it
I'm
was
proud to be
exactly.
associated.
And then and I hope I'm not quoted, but there's a sameness that has now come in. It's no longer mind-blowing like he used to be. I hope I don't get shot, but you know what I mean. Like there's that sameness. Like it would be nice to see something else, breaking into the screen where you're like, oh my God, you have to watch the latest Safaricom thematic campaign. And it would be a touch point for 3 months. It would be done annually and you would look forward to watching it. Yeah. And that's what builds the loyalty that a lot of people have, that they can't break away from the brand.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think, especially right now, when I think about, as you said, when you even looked at, like, if we go back to us in 2000 and 1990s, I think there was a TikTok video that was going through like the nostalgic feel of our ads back then. Yes. So you have Omotic. What's it called? Pick a
box. Yes, I remember it.
And you're literally drumming to that, tune and jingle, and you can't.
Yes, you can't get it out of your head.
You can't get it out of your head, right? And even now, 20 years later,
you will still sing along.
You will still sing
but
along.
Can you sing along to any ad that has been played in the last 2 years? Can't.
That's true.
It doesn't stick.
I think that's a big one in terms of even a take out from this podcast is, I think generally I feel like then it means we all need to be bolder. maybe there's an aspect of boldness that has
Been lost.
been lost in the way we receive briefs as probably agency people, in the way we share briefs, in the way we shoot or produce etc. I think there's just an element, and when I think about this, it takes me to SA, because I feel like SA ads, South Africa ads are
They're bold.
they're very bold, and
They're
they're very
bold.
culturally relevant, and they're very like they hook you,
Yeah, they
and
do.
it's like a story. So I think there's just an element there for us. I think we're not too badly off, but I think it's always area
Yeah,
of improvement.
a lot. I think we've gotten scared. We're too scared to be bold anymore, and I think we need to go back to those times when we're not scared anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You've heard. We need to be bolder, good people. Alrighty. Okay. So let me see. Especially because you said you're a LinkedIn expert, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So LinkedIn is big, Meta is big, Google is big, right? If they disappeared, remember, before I even get to the question, I remember when, was it Meta that had shut down, or there was I can't remember, and then everybody went to X, and then the X team, or that Twitter team, then was like, welcome everybody, because the surge of everybody just getting into
Shifting.
because
Yes.
for that, I think it was like 24 hours or maybe less, or maybe 12.
Yes.
All
I'm
the
trying to
apps
remember which channel
weren't
it was.
working,
Yeah.
and it was like, welcome everybody. So if this apps disappeared for 24 hours,
Oh my
what
God.
breaks immediately?
First, we'll have to start talking to each other again.
I know, right?
Think about it. We're going to have to look up and talk to each other, because think about WhatsApp and TikTok, the socials. We're constantly face
We're
down on
down
our
like this,
screens,
yeah.
right? So first we'd have to look up and talk to each other. Number two, I think a lot of businesses will struggle, because think about the way we order. We order, how we get customer care, support. You just die, like automatically die. So you can't transact with your bank account and you don't have TikTok or Facebook for support, or Twitter for support. You have to go to the bank,
Yeah.
or you have to pick up the phone and call. Do you know we've lost the art of talking on the phone?
It's like,
Yes, we're constantly typing, we're constantly
Yeah.
texting. There's a WhatsApp chat for every business. You can order, you can send your queries. There's a what's it called? Is it a bot?
yeah, the bot.
That you can have a
Bot,
conversation with.
yeah.
Yeah, we will have to start talking to each other. So I think first and foremost, of course, it will drive the world nuts.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. As you said, we'd have to speak to each other.
We'll have to talk to each other. We'll have to
Yeah.
learn to talk to each other. We'll have to look up. I don't necessarily think it was a bad thing, but I do appreciate the fact that a lot would be lost.
Yeah.
Businesses would fail.
Yeah.
Services would be inaccessible.
That's true. And convenience would just be
Exactly,
lost.
would be
Like
lost
convenience
instantly.
would be lost instantly,
Yeah.
right? But in the flip side is, because sometimes I always say, yeah, with digital connectivity and transformation and acceleration, I mean, more and more people either have become isolated, and their community is on a phone, which is not also a bad thing. But I think the aspect of social, as you said, we've
Be
either lost
lost.
it over time,
Yes.
for sure. But I think this would bring back that aspect of, let's go hang out, let's go for a walk, let's go for a picnic, let's go and
Exactly.
window shop,
Yes. Or let's just look up and look at each other.
Yeah. And let's sit together and Netflix and chill or whatever. But yeah, no, but you're right. A lot of small businesses would, generally businesses at whole, would definitely be heavily impacted.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just coming to the close of the podcast. We've discussed traditional, we've discussed digital, we've discussed traditional is evolving and not necessarily a death. What channels or what aspect will still matter 10 years from now? In context of this conversation around traditional, around digital, and generally the evolution and the transformation that is yet to come as well.
I think it's I think it's how we are, or the industry is evolving. So I'm going to use billboards as an example. Billboards were just, put up a frame, print this, print this. Next month, if you want to change it, you replace it. If you're keeping it for 3 months, it's one campaign for 3 months. It sticks around. If it's 1 year, it's the same. And then it evolved to digital screens.
Yeah.
So now that same billboard that was hosting one ad can now host, I don't know, let's even say if it's an ad runs for an hour, it can host 24 ads, right? So that's a version of evolution whereby the screen is now digital. Now, I, in my head, I know there's a way that will evolve, but I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I think the bit that can evolve or needs to evolve immediately is how we report, right? Remember, if we're going to report on a billboard by the roadside, what would we do? We'd do a survey, count the number of cars that pass, make an estimation that each car has 1 adult, 2 adults, and based on this, extrapolate it to determine the number of views that ad will get. But now we have AI, we have CCTV type cameras.
Right.
Why can't we start? And I believe this is something that's already there. So we need to see more of actual numbers from like digital screens, whereby you've got an AI enables camera attached to the screen that actually does a count of cars, and where possible, it can even get a count of people in the car. And that way you're actually reporting more realistic numbers. That's a version of evolution. So evolution doesn't necessarily mean the structure itself changes. Maybe it's what you get out of that structure in terms of insights, in terms of learnings, because maybe the extrapolation is underquoting the numbers. So you're making a decision on those underquoted numbers on how much you invest on that screen versus how much you invest on a different screen. But if you have more actual numbers, then actually I need to invest more here versus here. So the little things like that. Maybe it give you numbers about, it's close to a school. You want to target kids. This billboard on this side of the road is better than that billboard on the other side of the road. Or maybe these hours are better. So you don't have to spend on buying 24 hours, you can spend on buying certain hours of the day. So I think there's the little bits like that already exist, and those are versions of evolution. But I still think there's still more. When I was younger, I could try and imagine what they look like. I think now my brain is slowing down. And I might not have a version of that. But I think also looking outside, we are still a developing economy. So a lot of things get innovated out there. And it's important to look and see what are other people doing and learn from that. We don't all have to reinvent the wheel,
That's true. And 100%. It's not the framework or the foundation would, remain the same.
Exactly.
The different aspects around it are evolving or are becoming more tech-enabled in different capacities.
Yeah.
So that was mostly from a traditional perspective.
Yes.
So let's at digital.
Let us digital. Oh my gosh.
In 10 years.
I worry.
I love it. The honesty there is like, I
worry. You see, the challenge with, so like, let's think about AI. I don't know if you've ever heard that there's this, is it the Baby Shark song?
Yeah.
There's some research that was done to determine the type of tone, the type of words, where the song should run to be able to capture the attention of kids. It was scientifically built as a song, right?
Yeah.
Now we have AI that can actually do deep learning and research and tailor things. I don't know if you've heard of the AI musicians.
Yeah, no, I have.
There
Actually,
you
there's
go.
one who I used to listen to a lot, and because it was and I kept on asking, I can't find this song on Spotify. Then they're like, because
yes, an AI musician.
Yeah.
So there's actually one that is on Spotify, and I listened to her, and
nice.
it's a beautiful. I forget the name, but I'll probably remember and let you know. And something X Motet, I'll remember. And when you listen to it and listen to it closely, if you're a Beyonce fan, you'll realize that there's some similarities to her music. So I feel like for me, we might lose authenticity, and that's the fear I'm having in terms of you might make a decision thinking, I have thought about it and I've made decision to do this, but technology has actually conspired to drive you to that decision. So that's my fear with where digital is going.
So pretty much our choices will be manipulated.
Will be manipulated because technology is learning everything about us, and unfortunately we can't stop putting out our information. There's only so much you can limit yourself without compromising your comforts and your experiences and the things that matter to you. So you will have to put out some amount of data about yourself online or in different channels. You might not know it, but every time you interact with an app, your data is being collected.
Yep.
If your location is on, your data is being collected, your foot traffic. So I get scared, but from a business perspective, it's exciting.
The opportunities
so it's not all doom and gloom. Yes, exactly. So from a business perspective, I'm really excited about where technology is going. And, I can't wait to see what it looks like in another just 5 years. So
5 years.
It's scary when we look at some of the data coming out of LinkedIn on the job market. One of the stats that totally scares me every day, and I have to talk about it, is that by 2030, 70% of the skills that you need today will have been replaced.
70% of the skills we need today will be replaced by 2030.
Yes.
Proven, study, done.
It has been done. And it's been tracked since 2015. By between 2015 and 2024, 25% had already changed.
And so just because you've brought that interesting fact, so what it's replacing it in terms of what are we seeing is becoming now
so what's happening is, because it's not one thing or the other, what's happening is the tasks that can be automated are getting automated, and they're being automated because AI is able to automate, right? Which means then the tasks that were very operational, routine, will no longer be open opportunities.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
You will then need to move up to find a different role that makes sense. So like we might not need software developers, but we need creative minds to be able to figure out what prompts will get us the best value. So prompt engineering is going to be a thing. So I won't say it's AI is replacing us, because I know people will be saying AI is taking our jobs. No, AI is not taking our jobs. AI is taking jobs of those people who are not using AI, right? Sure. So if there are tasks that you're doing every day that are very operational, automate them. Move to the next. So then your time and your focus is put on different things. And then in areas whereby we've not had the capacity to do, or you haven't had the time to do those particular skills, then now you have time to make up for them, right? So even as I don't know, when I think when I think about content writers, I don't want to say that we won't need them, but then with automation, it means that they now have to be more creative, right? They're not stuck with the refining and optimizing and drafting anymore. Now they have to be the big ideas people, right? So they have to spend more time thinking and unpacking and reading more, getting immersed in data. So it's a little bit of a shift. It's about understanding where you are and making sure that you're future-proofing yourself for the future.
Because the future, as you rightfully said, digital is evolving every second, every minute, every day. Alrighty, so closing remarks, or what is it called? Last remarks, final snapshots, all those words. What would that look like on your end? Especially in terms of like what people should take out. I know there's a big part we've discussed around, in 10 years, what still remains true, and also the aspects that need to evolve to become true to the reality of where advertising, consumers, and everybody is moving to. So what would that look for you?
I would say, do they say kutembea ndio kuona ama ndio kujua? We need to open up our experiences. I think sometimes you get lost in your space, in the clients you handle, the job you do, and it becomes suddenly an echo chamber. So you then get limited to that. I think we need to get out of our comfort zone and experience more, experience different, experience what else is out there. And even when you think about, say, advertising, let's not settle for looking at ads in our market. Where are we benchmarking? No, that's not where we should be benchmarking. Look at the region. Look at globally the brands that you look up to, you aspire to. Look at what are they doing. So I think across the board, so not just advertising, if it's technology wise, if it's solution wise, if it's infrastructure, if it's platform, let's look outside. Let's not get caught in this little echo chamber where we are stuck doing the same thing over and over again.
And then we
You
get
see
to
someone is
sameness.
doing this. Exactly. Someone is doing this. You decide, even me, I'm going to do that. I'll just call it different, So that's not, I think we need to get out of that space. We need to, and that's the only way we'll be creative.
Yeah.
And we'll be challenged and will then continue to evolve.
Yeah.
Get out of the sameness.
Yeah, I think for me, just to build, because I 100% agree, like we need to get off, as you rightfully said, into a little echo chambers. Is that what you're calling them? Yeah. I think for me, it's also pushing ourselves to think a bit more, like, how would I say, bolder, right? In terms of, as you rightfully said, we think yes, beyond, but I think sometimes it could be a very basic, out of home billboard, a very basic Facebook post that you want to do or whatever. But how can it be different? Like, I think the aspect of, I don't want to say like laziness, that might be very harsh, but I think just aspect of really thinking, how could this be different? Oh, yes.
I think it's fear.
Yeah, is that the right one? Yes. I think it's just the aspect of, especially because all these aspects are changing. You have to be very intentional and very strategic in terms of how you'd want to use a different, as you said, it might not necessarily just be in advertising, but whatever capacity is, just be very intentional to be disruptive, to be to break through the clutter, because clutter is a lot.
Yes.
So I mean, that would just now be as an addition to what you said in terms of let's
get out of our comfort zone. Let's get outside. Let's see what other people are doing.
Let's see what other people are doing.
It's something as simple as, yes, we do have brand guidelines and we do have brand colors.
Yeah.
Can we just color block one day? So it's different. Someone will think, that doesn't look right. But you know what? The fact that they think it doesn't look right means they've noticed it. So that's the kind of breaks we need to make. I'm not saying, be radical and, do outrageous things. I'm just saying
pockets of great boldness, pockets of risk taking.
Yes. Yeah. Let's be bolder. Let's stop being scared.
All right. Thank you so much, Nelly.
Thank you
Thank you for, as well, to the DMAs for having us as part of the Untamed podcast. We've enjoyed ourselves, and I hope you've also enjoyed this podcast. Feel free to leave comments and all those things. Nelly, if people want to find you as a LinkedIn professional, how should they get you?
Oh, I live and breathe on LinkedIn. So please find me on LinkedIn, connect with me, send me a message. The company is called Turn Left Media. Feel free to go to our website and reach out. But I'm very active on LinkedIn, so trust me, if you send me a message, you'll get feedback within the day.
Love it.
All right. Super.
Thank you so much. If you want to find me as well, LinkedIn, I might not be as very active as Nelly, definitely. But yes, thank you so much for having us.
All right. Cheers.
Alrighty, cheers.
Thank you.